Hello, 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 Steve Fletcher here, and welcome to Vinyl Corner for February 2024. Vinyl Corner is my monthly vlog series where I dive into the geeky world of vinyl obsession, which I'm afraid to report is a disease that I have got, which I do not want to have a cure for. Kind of like, I don't know, buying lots of guitar gear and stuff. It's a shame, isn't it? Before we go any further, can I ask you please to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube page so you get to see all those other videos that I've put together for all you guitar nutcases out there just like me. And please, if you've also got a moment, try and find some time to go through some of those social media platforms that I use to stay in touch that way as well. So this month, Vinyl Corner, what have we got for you? We have made, it's been a leap year. 2024, February 2024, 29th of February. That doesn't happen very often, does it? It only happens every 4 years, in fact. Now, I would love to say that, you know, it being a leap year, I was actually in a rehearsal with my bandmates just last night, and someone said, well, if you make a ridiculously expensive purchase on leap year, of course it doesn't count, does it? And I was thinking at one point of getting an expensive box set, but I didn't in the end. It was the Clapton 24 Nights box set. The reason I was going to buy that was because 24 Nights was the album that really got me into Clapton back in the day when I was about 14, 15, 16 and getting into guitar, getting into blues. I had a bit of a long blues obsession, lasted for about 10, 12, 15 years. Which almost like a light bulb just suddenly went off. And that album, the 24 Nights album, was one of those, you know, I went through a whole sort of early Fleetwood Mac thing, a big Stevie Ray Vaughan period. And yeah, it was a really bizarre thing, but just suddenly, and obviously listening to other stuff as well, you know, always listening to me Floyd, me Rock, me Queen and Dire Straits and all that stuff. I never stopped listening to that stuff. But just suddenly, all of a sudden, about 5 or 6 years ago, blues just went, and it just turned off, and as a medium, I just sort of like 12 bar sort of thing, you know, Stormy Monday and all that kind of stuff, just suddenly stopped doing anything for me. It was a really bizarre thing that happened. Anyway, the reason Clapton happened in my brain was because I purchased this. This is up there with Alchemy by Dire Straits as one of my all-time favourite live albums. I'm so happy that this is here because it came out in a period in Clapton's career where he was really not, look at that, that's very nice, where he was really not doing a lot of really very good stuff, and certainly not deliberately not playing into this sort of guitar hero status that he'd got. This is coming at a time where Clapton was sort of not doing a lot of massive guitar anthemic stuff. It's brilliant. There's some absolutely wonderful guitar playing on this. He's using Blackie sort of throughout, and this really icy, cutting, clean tone that Blackie had in the 70s. It's absolutely on display here. It's a wonderful, wonderful live album. And in particular, the version of Double Trouble on this starts side 3. The version of Double Trouble on this is phenomenal. It's one of the best live performances of a blues song I think I've ever heard. It's also got a really good version of Cocaine on it. It's got a really nice section in the solo where it drops down. It's really, really cool. And curiously, it's also got a cover of Setting Me Up by Dire Straits on this. Now, Dire Straits at this time would have only had like the first album out. So Dire Straits weren't like a big name band when this came out. So it's quite interesting. And I do wonder, because Clapton and Knopfler had a friendship going on throughout the sort of the sort of mid to late 80s and sort of the early 90s. You did see Clapton and Knopfler sort of in each other's orbit a little bit, and I do wonder how in each other's orbit they were at this time I don't know. Someone might be able to fill me in on that. But that's great. This is a brilliant live album. Eric Clapton, Just One Night. Very happy to have got this. Oh, here he is. Bless his heart. I love Michael Jackson. I absolutely love him. It's a childhood thing. He was the man throughout my childhood. You know, I was an 80s child. I am an 80s child. I was born in 1980. So when I was, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, Michael Jackson was literally the king of pop. He could do no wrong. Everything he did turned to gold. He was a legend. I mean, obviously he had that at this era. He did have that sort of wacko jacko PR thing going on. But he was phenomenal. Sort of that 3 or 4 album period of like Off the Wall, obviously Thriller, obviously this, and Dangerous, just fantastic. I think he was phenomenal. He was obviously a very psychologically damaged man. Did he need a huge amount of therapy? Yes, he did. Did he need to have people around him who weren't just yes men going, yes, Michael, whatever you want, Michael? Of course, that's what he didn't need. He was a damaged man, but, read his biography and you pretty much see why he was a damaged man. He was not damaged to the point that people think. I think it's a sort of a tragic character, really, that he's gone. He went from the absolute pinnacle of fame and adulation to, a bit of a butt of people's jokes, to be honest. Very tragic, but I love him. I really, really do. Yeah, it was a time in the 80s where you can't imagine it now, where things are so instant, but you can't, like, the world stopped when Michael Jackson was going to do something, I remember when, I think it was Black or White video came out, and everyone was just talking about it in school. It was like, tonight it's happening. They're going to show the full video. So I don't think people can appreciate that. Certainly, people who are into pop music these days. People just can't appreciate how enormously famous and how much he mattered to all of us youngsters. So yeah, and I remember my brother had this record. And I must have drawn this about 100 times. And I remember seeing the CD as well and realising that there was another track, Leave Me Alone. It didn't fit on this, so it's not featured there. I could go on and on, so I'm going to stop there. But yeah, phenomenally good. Okay, so those 2 albums that I've bought are the sort of vintage albums. They're old secondhand stuff from way back in the day. New stuff that I've bought this month. We're going to start off with this. This is the Race for Space album by Public Service Broadcasting. This is, again, is a great album. I first heard about this. I watched a TV program on the BBC, I think, all about the sort of the history of the concept album. And they went through, sort of the biggest concept albums of our time from way back in the day. They went through sort of Marvin Gaye, Dark Side of the Moon, Quadrophenia, stuff like that, through to modern day. And this was one of the ones, and I'd never heard of it at all. And it's such a uniquely brilliant idea this band have, Public Service Broadcasting, of using old stock tapes and interviews and programs and stuff and setting them to music. This is fantastic. So this is the Race for Space. One of the many things I love about it is it's got a choose your own cover. But yes, it documents the race for space. So going through sort of from Sputnik all the way through to landing on the moon with the phenomenal track Go, and then sort of leaving it open for what's going to happen in the future. It's great. I would love to see this album performed live, which I haven't done yet. It's got this great little booklet with it, which is obviously full of band stuff and everything else. It does gives you that sort of timeline of Sputnik, Yuri Gagarin, John F. Kennedy's university speech, all the way through to Apollo 17, that final moon landing. It's such a good album. And I would heartily recommend anyone who, you might not be into concept music or progressive music and whatever, but it is a great, great album. It really is. So let's have a look at the actual vinyl there. Yeah, it's just a straightforward black vinyl there, but it is absolutely lovely. Yeah, really pleased with that one. And the final purchase that I've made this month is this one, Steve Hackett and the Circus and the Nighthwhale, which again he was saying is a bit of a concept album. I've only listened to it once so far. I haven't been able to really grasp the concept yet, but I'm sure if there is one in there, I'll find it eventually. I did pre-order it, so I got it signed by the man himself. I really like Steve Hackett. I'm obviously, when I go and see Steve Hackett live, I've seen him live, oh my word, maybe 10 times now. He does do a lot of heavy Genesis-centric sets, which I think, he's not stupid. He knows that that's where his bread is buttered, and he knows that, the majority of the audience do want that stuff, and we do. But he does, bless him, he's not just a tribute act. He does bring out a good selection of his solo work, to the point where I would really, really love it, actually, if one day he said, no, I'm just going to do a solo works tour. But what it does mean, and he does tend to release albums very, very frequently. And what that means, because he's always on the road, is you'll tend to get 2 or 3 selections from his newest album, then you'll get 2 or 3 selections of greatest hits from his back in the day albums. So his albums, they just tend to drop off. You don't really then, so you'll hear something in the current tour, and then you'll never hear anything from it ever again. And I think that's a bit of a shame. Bonamassa does that quite a bit as well, as he plays. He'll do a couple of selections from one of his solo albums, his newest solo album, loads of greatest hits, and then it'll just go. So, and he'll move on, and he'll do the same thing again, wash, rinse, repeat. And I would love it if they just sort of said, no, do you know what, I'm going to do, 1 or 2 songs from, more recent solo stuff, and just try and get, because that stuff becomes greatest hits like that by people giving it a chance, listening to it, opening their minds a little bit to newer material, not just the classic old stuff. But there you go. So yeah, Steve Hackett, the Circus and the Nighthwhale, plus a little bit of a rant about new stuff versus old stuff. So that is my new vinyl selection for this month. Very, very happy with it. I am as well. And it's this time where we sort of go through a random pull out of my vinyl archive, and we're going in alphabetical order. We have reached the letter K. There, stay there. We've reached the letter K. Now, I have got quite a lot. I've got a big man crush on the musical genius that is Mark Knopfler. And I've got quite a lot of his stuff. Obviously, I've got a lot of Dire Straits stuff, but I've got a lot of his vinyl as well. I'm going to start with this one that I found. This is the Boom Like That single. I did cover this on a previous vinyl corner when I bought this. There's a misprint on this, which I really, really love. It's the A side is Boom Like That. The B side, on the record, it says Summer of Love. On the printed sleeve, it says Who's Your Baby Now live at Massey Hall, Toronto. And I must confess, I haven't spun this yet, so I don't know which one is right. We've got the Tracker album, which I really, really like. The thing that I like on this, I thought this was worth buying for the song Basil and River Towns as well. I thought they were great. Basil in particular, I thought was a brilliant one. It was on the EPK that he released promoting this album. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, that is a great little piece of music. That there's that melody, da 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 da. That calls for a copy boy, grumpy as hell. Quite an un-Knopfler-esque melody. No offense to Knopfler, but he's not world renowned as being an amazing singer. But I thought that was a nice little sort of stretch out for him as a melody, and it was lovely. Great inner sleeve as well. Lots of pictures and the lyrics. I thought I'd got the most recent album, Down the Road Wherever, on vinyl. I think I might have to try and keep an eye out for that one, because again, that one was a good one as well. I mean, they've all got songs on that make you that make the purchase worthwhile. What I've also got is this box set. This is the first studio albums box set. I haven't got the second box set. I do constantly still think about buying it. I do wish I'd got the Get Lucky album on vinyl, because I think that's up there with one of my all-time favourites of Knopfler's solo albums. I don't think there's a bad song on it. Border Reaver's brilliant. Monteleone is brilliant. Remembrance Day, you know, it's a great album. Though I am a sucker for a box set, I must admit. So should it appear before me, I might find it very hard to resist. Anyway, we've got in the box set, we've got the B-sides. So this is all the sort of the stuff. I mean, he's a prolific songwriter, so this is all the stuff that goes on that doesn't make it to albums, but sometimes makes it to the B-sides. You've got Small Potatoes, What Have I Got to Do? Gravy Train. Gravy Train's an interesting one because he played that live on the Night in London concert, and it was also on the American Sweetheart soundtrack. And I was always like, where is that? How do we get that track? So I'm glad we've got that one. Summer of Love, which might or might not be the B-side to that. Camarado, Tall Order Baby, Let's See You, and The Long Highway. The Golden Heart vinyl. And I'm really pleased to see, actually, all of these are done. When you sometimes get vinyl in a box set, they kind of compress, the spines and the sleeves and stuff are a little bit just like a sleeve. But in this box set, they are the full, proper size vinyls. So we've got Golden Heart, Sailing to Philadelphia, quite possibly the best solo album that he's done. There is not a bad track on that. Then we've got The Rag Picker's Dream. This is worth buying alone for Hill Farmer's Blues. Absolutely brilliant song that is. I wish we heard that one more in live concert. We've got Shangri-La, again, brilliant stuff on that. 5:15 a.m. Boom Like That, brilliant song. Our Shangri-La is a great song. Song for Sonny Liston, Postcards from Paraguay, some of my favourite stuff on that. And Kill to Get Crimson, again. This one, Scaffolder's Wife, Fizzy in the Still, Let It All Go, Fish in the Bird, all of those, absolutely brilliant tracks. I love him. I can't get enough Mark Knopfler. I was very pleased that I went to see his guitars, which I did a Facebook post about when I went down to London to Christie's to see the auction. I know it's not the case, but I really hope that they've not been bought by, investment bankers who are just going to stick them in a case to accrue interest. I hope they've been bought by people who are actually going to play them, but I know they probably won't have been. Right, so that was the Vinyl Corner for February 2024. I hope you've enjoyed looking through these things, these vinyls that I've made purchases of this month. It's always lovely when I hear from you and someone says, oh yes, I love that album. Maybe you should listen to this one as well, Steve. Things like that. When that happens, I really dig that. Thank you ever so much. Please like and subscribe. Please do all that jazz, and we'll see you next time, boys and girls. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.